Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the country, around the world, around the state, around the city. Welcome to another episode of the Silk Stocking Sisters podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Theresa J. Canada. And again, today we have wonderful guests. You know, all my guests are special, as you know by now, for an episode to talk about what's happening in the North in terms of educational integration, segregation issues. And so we have today two guests who are affiliated with the Urban Suburban Program in Rochester, New York. So I want to welcome Miss Felicia Smith and Miss Latasha Pride. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's go back now. This is going to be like that second part of the podcast here. Miss Smith, can you talk about how do you measure? Because we all go back to measurements, and it's a directive of a program. You know how significant that is about programs. So, how do you measure success to this program as you continue to work through things?
As we continue to work through things, Dr. Canada, our success is measured by graduation rates. We are contributing significantly to the graduation rates of our partnering districts. So when our districts have a graduation rate of 95%, that's great because we have seniors that are contributing to that graduation rate. Another measure of success is truly the number of students that are being successful and retained in their academic achievement. So every year, the program recognizes its students in grades 6 through 12 with a special recognition. And we outgrew one of our locations.
Really?
That is yes.
Wait a minute, come back. Hold on. You outgrew the location? How is that possible?
We outgrew well, we used to actually have our recognition event at Nazareth, and, the hall became too small for us to have all of our families, our partners, and the students who were receiving awards in it at one time. So we changed the format of our recognition, but yes, high academic achievement, excellence, civic responsibility, and leadership, it's still at the core of our program. And so every year we recognize hundreds of our students for their academic excellence. So that's clearly one of our measures as well.
Okay, that's good. Okay, now I'm going to ask another question related to that. Um, what's it like in terms of gender gaps? Do you have probably more prominently more females than you have males? Is that possible? Is that true?
That is true. We do
Okay.
have more females than males.
Do you think that's because the parents don't want to have their sons to do that flipping all over the place, or what do you think?
I think it's just about choice. It's about the family's actual choice to look into urban suburban to give urban suburban a try. But we do have quite a few males. But yes, every year the number of females that apply it does outweigh the number of males that apply. Mhm.
Okay, now what does that say about it?
That's yeah, that's saying that some of the attractions for families that are they feel fit very well for their young men may not be as evident in the suburban districts
Okay.
as they are in their urban districts.
Okay, interesting point. And the reason I asked that question was I wanted to hear your feedback from because you know being the professional in your role there,
Mhm.
and you know firsthand what's going on. Um,
Mhm.
and you think about the gaps that this whole idea of from the prison, whatever from that situation, and I'm
Yes.
wondering how this would
Mhm.
impact the difference because I know when I was part of this program, part of this whole desegregation process, so
Mhm.
that there were less males than females who participated or who were involved in it. Now, I had to say this. I don't to this day. I remember I was part of something. I'm thinking I never even inquired even as I was writing my book, and
Mm,
I said, I never even asked my parents how I get involved in this. I didn't think about it. But
mm.
I do know, and I'm going to ask Miss Pride your parents' reaction. I felt that whatever it was that's going to enhance my education, my parents going to say, go for it. And I think that, in a sense, probably is what was happening and is still happening now with students who are been involved in this program. Am I correct, Miss Pride?
I would say so. Parents are definitely pushing and uplifting their kids while they're in this program, especially with the education factor. And they just want to make sure they're getting the most out of that education as possible. With myself, that was like the biggest thing with my parents is that I had access to just in a very elaborate education. But I feel like my parents were a little overachievers when it came to our expectation for education because not only was I, in the Urban Suburban Program, but they then also had me in a public speaking Saturday
Mm.
school, and then, it was still, Bible study on, or Bible
At every turn, right?
Yeah. So, I'm like, if it was anything educational, we were in it. So and
Okay.
I feel like that comes even with a lot of our parents now, a lot of our students are in musical programs, and everything beyond the classroom.
Beyond the classroom. That's interesting. Now, can you say to me, having gone through the program yourself, graduate program, and now you're working with students who are like you were exposed. What's your feeling and insight about your current role as an education specialist? And specifically, look at the districts Hilton, Penfield, Pittsford, and Spencerport. Specifically, those. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So my current role is truly support for our families, our parents, for our districts who are learning how to navigate these roles with our students, but then mostly like the students as well. I'm always looking at the student experience. Are students feeling supported? Do they feel a sense of belonging? How are they feeling year to year? It's something that we always like bring to the table as a team and talk about, what that looks like for our students because at the end of the day, they are in the center of these schools and we just want to ensure their success, both academically and social emotionally. So, are we meeting all the steps we need to ensure that our families are successful, our students, and especially our partners if they're supported as well?
Okay, now this I'm a segue back to the comment we talked about with Miss Smith in terms of the black males. Do you sense now? I'm just saying, but since you've been through the program, do you sense that parents may feel that the male children will be more ostracized or not accepted as readily as the female students who are part of the program, from your perspective?
I don't think the parents feel like they would be ostracized. I just don't think that they just looking at some of the some of the districts that they always check with their student. They really do listen to their student voice and they see all these great things that are happening in the city for their young men. So they opt to have them remain in the city.
Okay. Okay.
For some, we do get a lot of males that are younger that are applying, which is great because if that's all they know, that's usually really, really uh,
That's the
uh
easy way in,
yeah,
right?
yeah, a ease for transition. But because the city does have really dynamic and enriching early education programs, first, second, and third grade type of programs that are so strong. A lot of times, again, they may not apply until they're like in the fifth or the sixth grade, and that does come with that transition, that middle
Yes.
school puberty.
Yes.
So, and
Well, the reason I say that is because I know that I believe the earlier you start, and I think Miss Pride, concurred that it's easier to make the adjustments. And I wonder again about male children. The kinds of we talk about how black males are more or less looked upon as they continue to grow up. Okay, so I
Mhm.
wonder if it's feel the parents feel they don't want to expose their sons to harsher environments than necessary. That's why Imma say, I know Miss Pride went through the system herself. So, I'm thinking now, is there anything you're doing differently, Miss Smith, to maybe and you've already explained the city offers a lot more than maybe the programs offer. But don't you think also the distance away from home may make a difference as well?
The distance from home, that usually when the students get a little older and they start participating in all those fantastic sports, they are they're doing the plays, they're doing
Right.
just different trips. We have students that are traveling to like Italy, different places. That part, it does again, require the parents to make some huge sacrifices to ensure that their students are getting there. I can think of like this one young man that's at Brockport right now, and his sister graduated from the program already. But that mom is so dedicated. She drives them there, and when Miss Pride spoke about skiing, he did skiing, he did band, he does plays, he does musicals, he started a chess club for his
Really?
school.
He
So
started the chess club?
he started a chess club for his school. So, the chess club meets, and then he wanted to start a band, and his mom was like, "Hold on, hold on." So, some of our young guys, they're doing fantastic. The young men that are here are really they're thriving. They're doing some exceptional things. It's just getting more males, I'm sorry, to actually apply.
Okay, okay. But see, I'm just thinking, I think about the camaraderie, and also the fact they come back to their community, how they're accepted in their communities. So, I know I'm going to ask Miss Pride back again. Were you welcomed into your community still, despite the fact that you were not participating in the schools within your community? Do you?
Yes. So, that was a big part too, I think, of that parent support too, because my parents always made sure that I still was endowed or still was participating in my community as well. So it really felt like I had two, and then sometimes they would just combine. Sometimes I would be out in Brockport doing things, sometimes I would be in the city doing things. Sometimes when I was having birthday parties or stuff, it would be friends from both aspects, the city and Brockport. Like, that was just for my friends that were in my community at home, I was just a person that went to a different school, you know what I mean? But they would have events and they would still say, "Come to the game tonight," and I would come to the game or come to the dance. I just didn't attend their school.
Okay, okay, okay. Well, see, the other thing I have to ask, but go back to Miss Smith.
Mhm.
What about parents who don't have the ability to be able to maintain the traveling back and forth? Because I mean, resources, you have to have certain resources to be able to continue that. Is there anything that the Urban Suburban Program provides to parents to maybe assist them so they can have resources available that's separate from their own resources?
I always say we're a big family. I always say that I have 980 children and then we we are one big family. And I really mean it because in our districts, we want those parent advisory council members to be definitely willing to support another parent in their district. So that's why we have the different parent group meetings so that everyone knows that they're not in this alone. So what Urban Suburban does, if a parent says, I'm having some problems, my child wants to participate, if we can help to coordinate like after school transportation, because that's not a part of what's required for our CSD to do try to find ways to still collaborate and get that kiddo to ride a different bus so their parent doesn't have to worry about if they're participating in activities and we can get them on a different bus. If we can get them public transportation, if they're old enough to ride the RTS,
Okay.
and if we have another parent that already is going out there and their child also participates, let's bring these parents together because we need one another. It truly does take a village.
Okay.
So if the parent is willing and is
That
family for
collaborate and journey together. Okay.
absolutely. And in a couple of our districts, we used to have a liaison. She retired now, but she actually brought together district families who wanted to make sure students could stay after school. So they were like a district family that kind of unofficially adopted a kiddo. So they didn't have their parent didn't have to drive back and forth
Okay.
multiple times during the day so that they could participate. So there are just so many different avenues of collaboration. And that's a testament too that most of the districts, the community is so welcoming that those parents are like, how can we help too? These are great.
Oh, really?
So if they could hang out with my son goes to school with James already, if it's okay with his parent, he can just wait here and we can take them to practice and they can just make one trip and we can meet them halfway.
Oh,
So
really?
yes. So we used to do something called a 3-on-3 basketball tournament, and it wasn't just about basketball. It was about bringing the suburban community and the urban families and community together. So it was a sporting event, but the teams had to be comprised of kiddos that lived in the suburban district and urban suburban kids. So that means their parents would be there.
Exactly.
Their parents would meet urban, suburban parents, and more relationships were built and developed. So we try to do different things like that, that just on a social level, you're meeting new families and they're meeting you.
Exactly. So did that happen to you, Miss Pride? Did that happen with you and your parents?
Yes. So we had because I was just participating in a lot of things. I loved sports. I loved, at clubs and activities. So it was actually like a parent kind of cause where all of our parents that were in our grade level had the phone numbers, and it would really be like, hey, you're going to ride down there with such and such mom, and then I'm gonna pick up all the kids and bring them home. So it was very trustworthy, but it was community to get back and forth to report, and as long as I call around and say, "Hey, this person's offering to give me a ride," she's like, "Okay, that's fine," and tell her I'll bring her kid home the next day, and that
Oh,
takes something
really?
off of our parents.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I think that you're sharing with me that it's not just the children, it was also the parents engaged in the program. And I think that really, I must say, that's probably part of the success comes from that relationship. Am I correct?
Yes.
It is the heartbeat and the success of the program, the parent engagement.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's what I need to hear. Well, listen, this has been wonderful. I've learned, well, at my audience, I knew about the program, but I know the depth of the program. And it's the fact that you have a person who graduated now is working with the program and has that experience exposure. It enhances the program, I believe. And I think that this is wonderful. And I hope it continues. I'm hoping it continues because we really, really need it more now today than ever. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Certainly.
okay. So
Certainly.
anyway, thank you both for these episodes. We've talked about the topics that I wanted to share, and just being able to be open and receptive to letting sharing this information that people know about this program. And to say that the historical piece of this program, how it started, the first one, is that right, Miss Smith? The first.
The first. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Told you.
Okay. That in itself it's all in a nutshell. That's it. The first, okay? Now, Miss Smith, we've talked about different things of the parenting, so forth and so on. Let me know, what else do parents get involved in? Do they help with, is there fundraising? Can people donate to this program? Can you fill me in on something about that?
Absolutely. Our parents are incredible. They pledge, they fundraise, and 100% of that money, it goes actually back to urban suburban students in the form of an urban suburban scholarship. So we are always looking for organizations or individuals that would like to continue to support the urban suburban program by donating. You can donate by going to monroe.edu/US, and you can click on the parent tab and fill out information to donate, or you can contact our office.
Give
At,
us the numbers, give us the phone numbers, please.
we are 585-249-7045.
Say it again.
585 249 7045. And we would be ecstatic to give you our address and additional information to receive your kind donation. So
Okay,
we
folks, come
always
on. That you got the information, so let's follow up, Doctor. Gotta help my folks from Rochester, okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Well, like I said, well, hopefully, we're sharing the information so people can know. It's good to know the information and how people can continue to support these programs. We need programs to continue to exist, and so we want to make sure we can support them financially as well as emotionally. Okay, so any way that you can, please, everyone out there, contact this Urban Suburban Program and be able to support them as well because we need to have these programs continue more so now than ever before. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again for the second episode of the Silk Stocking Sisters talking to my guest, Miss Smith and Miss Pride, about the Urban Suburban Program. Have a great day, everybody. Bye now.